Hey, tread lightly. What's up? And today I'm gonna do a review on Better Call Saul Season 4. So, Better Call Saul is a spin-off of the greatest TV show of all time, Breaking Bad, and even though it's not better than Breaking Bad, it's still very good. It tells the story of Jimmy McGill, who was a lawyer who used cheap but very clever tricks to scam people, and he and his brother Chuck, who was a professional lawyer, had feuded for quite a while. We also have his girlfriend, Kim, and his ex-colleague, Howard, who worked with Chuck as well. On the other side of the story, of course, we have Mike Ehrmantraut, a legendary badass. Also, Gus Fring, who's an incredibly smart and careful criminal. And we also have Nacho, who's a down-to-earth gang member who worked for Hector Salamanca, a rival of Gus. Episode 1 is titled Smoke, and it immediately picked up from what happened after the Season 3 finale. And even though the episode has a very simple plot for every main character, the scenes are mostly very well written and they're all pretty solid. Jimmy was really sad about what happened, and in the ending scene, we really see Jimmy trying to distract himself from the sadness by acting happy and carefree. Meanwhile, Mike is still a legend. He sneaked into the Madrigal building and did whatever he wanted without caring at all. He also ended a Bruce Lee versus Muhammad Ali argument, and that seems pretty funny. The show always showcases these conversations with stupid topics as contrast to what's actually happening under the surface, and it adds a lot of humor to the show. Also, what happened on Nacho's side of things is already heating up and becoming tense and suspenseful, and I dig it. Even though it's not a grand season opener, I still enjoy it. Over to episode 2, Breathe, where the story takes a further step. Jimmy began to do more job interviews because he's unemployed, and there's a brilliant scene where Jimmy persuaded 2 employers to employ him immediately just to roast them back at the end and decline the offer. But the ending scene, damn, wow. Gus found out what Nacho really did, and it's really suspenseful, because I root for Nacho all the way. He's a good man. But the episode ended with a surprise where Gus took control of things in a violent way. We can really see the Better Call Saul Gus slowly but surely developing into the Breaking Bad Gus. And overall, this episode is genius, and I also love the scene where Kim was exploding and yelling at Howard. Rhea Seehorn got some good acting chops as well. Then it's episode 3, Something Beautiful. And similar to the previous episodes on the season, it's a slow burner, but it has some amazing scenes. And overall, this episode is solid and entertaining, just like any other great Better Call Saul episodes. So Jimmy saw a garden gnome figure in someone's office on the previous episode. He knew that it was expensive, so he teamed up with another guy to try to steal it and replace it with another one of those and sell it and split the money. And of course, just when things seemed to be okay, something bad happens. I'm giving a spoiler alert. Yay! So the very bright and well-dressed man Jimmy saw on the previous episode was way different when he was alone, just like most of us, because, you know. And I also love how the show uses these small scenes to reflect on how lame and shallow we can be. But basically, Jimmy hired a thief named Ira, who was supposed to swap the expensive gnome figure with a less expensive one. He did, but when he wanted to leave, the manager of that office came out of the bathroom, and it was in the middle of the night. He sat on his couch and watched TV. He phoned his wife or girlfriend who pushed him out, and he ordered pizza. Meanwhile, Ira was hiding under a table, listening to all that. He called Jimmy in secret, and Jimmy had a plan to get him out, which is to make his car freak out to distract him, so that Ira could escape. And that's a brilliant scene. And we also have scenes where Gus's men had to fake Nacho getting attacked, so Gus's men had to shoot Nacho to fake it, and I feel really bad for Nacho. Also, Gail made an appearance in the episode, which is pretty awesome. Episode 4 is titled Talk. Jimmy had a new job working at the small shop for CC Mobile, and it's really depressing because there were no customers. so Jimmy had to spice it up by using methods that are not so legal. Mike had a great scene, which is well written, where he exposes a faker during a group meeting, and once again the show shows us that a lot of people are secretly scamming others. And I also like how it's similar to Jesse's meltdown in Breaking Bad. Also, to sustain the lie, Nacho convinced the twins that a gang hit him, and Nacho said they should hit them on that night, but the twins just went in anyway, like they don't give a shit, and that's badass. Over to episode 5, quite a ride. First of all, minor spoiler alert, but I'm glad I could get a glimpse of Saul Goodman right after Ozymandias and before Granite State. We see him destroying the office and packing and was about to leave, but the main story itself is pretty good as well. There's a really well-directed scene where Mike brings architects to Gus's lair for the construction of the super lab. I like all these jump cuts and montages. The montage being Jimmy selling phones near Doc House as if he's selling drugs illegally, and he succeeded. He tricked people into buying these phones by saying that they're private and no one could listen to these phones. And in a funny scene, he actually successfully convinced a scary, tough bike gang to buy his scam phones. Too bad at the end, something bad happened. Then it's episode 6, Piñata, which is again a very slow-paced but satisfying episode. Nothing that crazy or insane happened. Jimmy continued trying to make a living off of selling prepaid phones while Kim has big projects coming up, including a job offer from a law firm that Jimmy disliked. And there's a scene where Jimmy told Howard to stand back up and put HHM back on the horse, and Howard dropped the F-bomb. And it's not the first on the series, it's like the 4th and the 5th, but I'm glad the writers put it in there. But the ending scene is incredibly satisfying. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but basically Jimmy got revenge on the people that wronged him on the previous episode, and it's yet another cheap but smart plan from Jimmy. Episode 7 is titled Something Stupid, and it sort of fast forwards to, I guess, a couple months after. In the teaser, we see a split-screen montage where we see Jimmy and Kim's lives slowly differ from each other, and I love the montage. And the episode itself is relatively more boring, even though it's not that bad. Nacho didn't make an appearance at all on this episode. While Mike appears, every time he appears it's usually because of the Germans who are still working on the construction of the super lab. Meanwhile, Jimmy has a problem on his hands, and Jimmy got help from Kim. But before the problem was solved, the episode just cuts off, so I guess I had to look forward to the next episode. Over to episode 8, Coushatta, which is a great episode. Something big finally happened, and Jimmy and Kim really pulled off one of the greatest scams I've seen on TV. So, if you watched the previous episode, Huel got into a bit of a pickle, and Jimmy and Kim tried to help him. And Kim thought of this crazy elaborate con to scam the prosecutor. And the con was to forge all these fake letters and postcards about how Huel was such a great person, and Jimmy had to take a long ride over to Coushatta, Louisiana, to send those fake mails to the judge. Then the prosecutor got the mails and tried to find any phone numbers. And when he dialed the numbers, people really did pick up and tell the story of how great Huel was and why. And those people were actually the people who worked with Jimmy and Jimmy himself. I mean, damn, that's a hell of a stunning con. What more do I need to say? Then it's episode 9, Wiedersehen, where the story tenses up and starts to become something big. Even though this episode isn't super great or anything, I still like it a lot because of how the story develops, and I'm giving it a spoiler alert. On Jimmy's part, Jimmy tried to get his lawyer license back by doing an interview with some people from the Bar Association, and to be honest, he killed it. He was amazing and persuasive. Even when they asked these tricky questions, Jimmy still nailed them. But at the end, Jimmy still got denied, and I just feel really bad for him. Then after that, he rushed to Kim and told her all about it, then yelled at Kim, then Kim fired back, which was painful to watch. But there's something Kim said that really made me think. and that's Jimmy being always down. Jimmy was like, there you go, kick him when it's down. And Kim replied, you're always down, Jimmy. And I just see myself in Jimmy. He's always down, always in a worse situation than others, always in trouble, not having a good life, and it's just really sad. And the ending was pretty concerning when Werner disappeared. It's one of those storylines where I was like, please don't mess it up, please don't, but yet the character had to mess it up, and this time, it's Werner. The finale is titled Winner, with a great flashback teaser where Chuck and Jimmy sings The Winner Takes It All by ABBA, but what really happened after the teaser made me go, whoa. Even though this isn't the greatest Better Call Saul finale, I still love it. And this episode is a critical point for Jimmy's career in his transition to become Saul Goodman, as well as an episode where the Nacho storyline and the Mike storyline cross paths in a bad way. And it gets really complicated, so I'm giving a spoiler alert. So Werner was gone and Mike was out to get him back. Gus wanted him killed, but Mike convinced him not to. And after a lot of searching, Mike found a traveling agency store thing and he saw the CCTV footage of Werner, and thus he found where Werner was. And on his way to get Werner, Lalo showed up and followed him. If you don't know who Lalo is, it's a Lalo Salamanca. But Mike had a very smart plan. He drove into a car park, aka a parking lot. He went in, he chewed some gum, and he used 2 wrapping papers and a piece of chewed gum to create a sticky sandwich. Then after that, after he paid for the ticket, he inserted the thing into the ticket machine and it jammed the machine and Lalo was blocked. So that's pretty smart. Now Lalo had another crazy moment where he traveled back to the travel agency place, climbed into the ceiling, hopped back down, and killed the guy. Damn. Then Lalo called Werner, pretending to be one of Gus's, but soon after, Mike got him and took him away. Then we hit the saddest part of the story, where Mike was left with no choice but to kill him, before he could even see his wife. He was so close to seeing his wife, but yet, because of that, he's never going to see his wife. Werner told Mike that he's going to see some of the stars of New Mexico, while Mike pulled out the gun and shot him. No more half measures. And that's a really sad and dark scene that turned out very bitterly. And at the end, Jimmy appealed the decision to not give him the lawyer's license using Chuck's letter. But this time he improvised and gave one of the most stunning and touching speeches he had ever given in the history of the series. So finally, he got the lawyer's license, but this time he's not practicing as a McGill, he's practicing as Saul Goodman. While the last scene isn't all that exciting or intense, I still find it kinda satisfying and enjoyable, and I'm happy for Jimmy. Overall, the 4th season of Better Call Saul really gets moodier and maybe a little sadder, and thus the progression of the story becomes super slow. Every scene is longer and every episode has less scenes, but even though it's a slow burner, the character development is great. The plot is mature and smart as always. Some people may say that this is better than Breaking Bad though, and I kinda disagree with that. But still, it's a solid season with solid scenes, and that's pretty much all I can say. The worst is episode 7, Something Stupid, and the best is the finale, Winner. I'm saying Better Call Saul Season 4 is worth watching, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. So, have you watched Better Call Saul Season 4 from 1 to 10? How much you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more. And this lollipop is chocolate vanilla flavored.